A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time. So real quick before we get started, I just want to do a couple little housekeeping things. I wanted to let everybody out there know that our Patreon page is up and running. Patreon.com/AIFA. That's A is for alcoholic. Patreon.com/AIFA. And what we're trying to achieve here is to be able to get this message out to more people, get more listeners to the show. And that's going to include things like subscription fees for podcast hosting sites and getting on Spotify and all that kind of good stuff. So
yeah.
Please go check it out. If you can, throw $1 in the basket. We appreciate it. We're going to be putting up all kinds of cool content. We're going to be doing interviews with, I've got an interview slated with a business owner here who makes ice cream, who's in recovery. Jerry's going to be hopefully talking to Recovery Raps dude, maybe, if you can find him.
Recovery Raps. He's not a rap. Oh, Ender One. I thought we were talking about the dude who's got the Recovery Raps food cart where it's just all like spinach tortillas.
No, not Raps, like W.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, I still got to talk to the guy. I haven't even talked to the guy yet. He's going to hit me up now on Instagram and be like, why are you talking about me? And I'll be like, because I love you, dog.
So we're trying to get some different stuff talking about. We're going to have our holiday show. We'll probably have our New Year's Eve show. You'll still get the regular content that we do here every single week, A through Z and beyond. But just wanted to put that out there. Patreon.com/AIFA. So
absolutely. Get with it.
Get with it. Today's episode is O is for obsession.
Yeah.
I was reading about obsession, and well, there's two different things. We've talked about this before. There's the obsession of the mind and the allergy of the body, and so the craving is once you've had a drink, you crave more. So that's that sort of physical part of it. That's where. Right. Your body gets that sort of positive thing and goes, ooh, this is really good. And with us alcoholics, with me, it kind of triggers this idea of like, it gives you the strong positive dopamine hit that you get from food or sex. And your body starts to think, oh, we need this. This is important for survival. It doesn't just feel good, but I have to have this. And that's where that craving comes from. But outside of even having any alcohol, that's where the mental obsession lives and resides. And that sort of constant thinking about it, and when you don't have it and how you're going to get it and when you're going to get it. And, I'll be at the bar and it'll be 1:45 and I know that I got to call a cab and I got to hit that 7-Eleven to get that 18 pack. And maybe I should get 2 of them because I want some people to come over so I can get 36 beers and have a couple more for the morning that I'm going to stash in my side drawer. And so it's like that crazy mental obsession that when you're drinking, that's kind of that way that you think about alcohol. And I don't know how did you think about it a lot after when you first got sober? Was it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's how, I mean, I always knew. The funny thing about alcoholism is that
make me laugh, Jerry.
Well, the peculiar thing about it is I think when it's viewed by normal society, and I hate using the word normal, but when it's viewed by a non-alcoholic society, they feel like alcoholism in its whole is just the physical aspect of it. You have become physically addicted to a substance, and that is just a portion of it. The obsessive part is also runs in tandem with that physical portion, but then once you've sweated that shit out and your weeks have passed and you're done doing all that awful fucking all that awful shit that of going through withdrawal and whatnot, there's still that mental aspect of it. There's a psychological aspect of it, and that's what the obsession was to me. That even 3 weeks after I had sweated it out and fucking had the shakes and insomnia and all that, like I still counted the seconds. I still counted the seconds, and that to me was really profound because I was like, oh shit, this isn't just a physiological thing. This is an actual mental thing. That why would I return to this thing that has proven once again and again to like ruin my life and to fuck up my flow, you know? Like why would I come back to that? Had to be a mental obsession. But I mean, I showed me personally, I exhibited obsessive behavior even before I took a drink. I mean, even with girls, like I lost my virginity to this girl like 15 and she was like everything. And even in relationships after that, I'd be with women in my 20s and early 30s and they were like everything to me. Everything. I mean, I would like obsess over people. And the same with booze. I would obsess over it.
Yeah.
It just became my will. That was my will to live, you know? So yeah, in early recovery, even up until mid recovery, even I wouldn't say now the obsession is, when they say in the rooms the obsession is gone, I believe them. But for me to say the obsession is completely gone is inaccurate because it's still there. It's just there. It's just an afterthought though. It's not screaming in a megaphone anymore. It's way in the back of the bus, like whispering, you know, but it's around. Will it go away? God, I hope so. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe it will. Maybe it will. And if it doesn't, then I have to learn to live with that, you know, and that is what it is. You know?
Some people it's lifted right away and some people live with it forever. And you hear stories about people who have 10, 12, 15 years sober and they decide to go out. And they're like, yeah, I think a Michelob sounds really good today. And then all of a sudden, it's always something, you know,
I know
every story I hear. And
Michelob.
Somebody's like, yeah, I just thought I'd have a cold beer with lunch. And then, you know, they wake up in jail. And so I think that obsession starts early on. I mean, they talk a lot about how, you know, you hear a lot of people say, oh, I felt different. I felt like an outsider. I didn't feel like I fit in. I was always looking for something or someone, like, you know, whether it be a relationship or alcohol, looking for something to make me feel better. And I know that I certainly got obsessive in relationships in the past too, but also with alcohol, it was always like, that's what we're going to do. Once I found out that I could like turn it on, then it was like, okay, what are we going to do after work today? Okay, how are we going to do that? How are we going to get there? How are we going to get the money? Where am I going to meet you? What's going to happen next? How's the weekend going to go? Always planning for a party or just how I was going to drink that day or that night. Yeah. And near the end, it was my anxiety level was like at 12 or 13 all the time unless I had a drink. And then it was just down to about 8 or 9, you know, it never, it was not gone by any means, but it was always the plan of, okay, I need to go get stuff to have to drink, or if I'm going to be working late, I need to make sure that there's alcohol at the house, or it's in the trunk of the car, or wherever it needs to be, so that I'm not without it. And so there was that sort of obsession with it. And, you know, if you're counting your drinks, like if I'm like, when I would count drinks or I would make rules for myself, I don't think that normal people make rules about what time of day they can drink, you know, 5 o'clock somewhere. And it was always those kinds of things. And it was always an obsession, and it was always trying to work some deal or some just finagle something, you know? So it was always on my mind. And when I first got sober, I isolated myself in my room for that first like month or so. I mean, before I ever even reached out to anybody or went to a meeting or anything. And I just watched TV and drank club soda and ate so many ice cream bars, man. And I thought about it all the time. Like, okay, so this is it. This is the end, right? You ever had that? You had that thought like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. Life is over.
Well, no, it's really weird because while you're talking about it, I was thinking about my early recovery and how I got sober at my brother-in-law's house, and he was a bartender and a bar manager. And I got sober with like a full liquor cabinet, like 15 feet away, like right behind me, a full liquor cabinet full of like the good bourbon too, not my cheap ass Evan Williams or Old Crow. Like he had like the what's that Rip Van Winkle and all that shit back there, you know, and I'd go to bars. I would still go to bars sober. Like a show, my brother-in-law's band would be playing, or a band I would want to go see would go play. So I would go with my wife to a bar, and then I'd sit there, and everybody around me would do shots and drink, and I was like so newly sober, like a month, 2 months, and I'd just sit there like, you know, through the whole thing, just like literally I couldn't think of a better analogy for it than like basically trying not to shit myself. Do you know what I'm saying? Like just struggling with this thing that wanted to break out and it wouldn't break out. It was awful. It was a horrible thing for me to do. So I didn't isolate myself at all. I threw myself into the jaws of the damn thing without thinking about it, you know, just because this is my normal. So my normal is getting sober with a bunch of booze behind me and getting sober in a fucking bar. You know, it was after about a year, it petered off there after a while because the circumstances changed, you know, and once my daughter got old enough to start, you know, doing stuff and going to school and shit, then those weren't really options in my life. Even now actually I'm more anxious in a bar now than I was before. Which is funny. And I'm more anxious not because I'm like, am I going to drink? But because I cannot control the drunks around me. And I have this weird control thing. Bang, alcoholic dude. But it's funny, actually, when we talk about obsession, because I always think about how I would go to this liquor store every day after work. And the liquor stores in Oregon close at 8. So I had to be there before 8, and I got out of work by 7. So either I'd send my counter person at the shop to go down there, or I'd run down there like at 6:30. And I'd go in there every day, and I would talk to the guy at the liquor store. And then one day he said, "You're in here every day buying a fifth. Why do you keep going back to the fifth? Why do you keep buying booze every day? What do you get out of it?" And I remember looking at him and telling him, "Dude, it's like if I were..." It was such a weird analogy. I was like, if I were on a running board of a car... It feels like I'm on the running board of a car that's driving like 40 miles an hour, and I have jumped off the running board into an open manhole lid and made it. The first time I made it, cold, solid, and I came out of there like the coolest guy in the world. Like, did you see my magic trick or whatever? And every night since then, I've been trying to replicate that same fucking
trick,
that same thing, that same trick, and never getting it. I'm always hitting the clip in the side of the manhole lid or falling off the side of the car, and I'm always hurting myself. But I keep every single night, I'm obsessed with trying to replicate that same feat, that same daredevil feat that I had accomplished once in my entire drinking career. You know, that was my big analogy of the obsession of trying to find that thing that was there.
So he was he just like trying to help you out, or was he trying to get you a deal on a gallon or something like that?
I don't know. I have no idea. It was a guy I knew was a friend of mine. He was just probably trying to be.
So it was a little
more
friendly conversation. I mean, he's
like, why do you drink like you drink?
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm trying to fucking,
I'm
Evil Knievel, bro. I'm Evil Knievel. Got to get in that manhole. And then my second question was, why don't you drink like I drink, bitch? It really was. Like, why doesn't everybody drink like I drink? Why haven't they figured this out yet? I found this magical elixir that erases time. And fucking all my money disappears.
Time, money, feelings. Well,
yeah.
All those things come right back in the morning. When I spent the first 3 years, and I've only been sober for 3.5. The first 3 years, I was a bartender, and I was in recovery.
Yeah,
and so,
dude. I was hoping we'd get to this eventually, because we don't ever talk about the fact that John was a career bartender for like a long time, for over a decade.
Yes, I was a career bartender for, I think technically I have like 13 years, but there's probably a couple more in food service and in bars and stuff like that. I was a door guy.
I'm glad we're getting to this.
Yes. So I would go to work, and I kind of looked at it like, okay, well, bank tellers don't take home all the money, you know? They don't. Yeah. They just go and they count the bills and they put them in the bundles and they put them in the machines. And so I would pick up bottles and I would pour drinks and I would talk to people about wine that I wasn't going to be drinking, and new wines would come out. And for me, I had to look at it because I had to do this job. I had to have the job. I needed the money, and I was still trying to figure everything out. And I looked at it as like, this is going to be my nightly reminder of why I don't want to drink anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, and because people would come in, and I ended that career at a very nice resort with some very high-end clients who spent way too much money on wine, way too much money. And
Right.
part of it was hard to walk away because it was a very good job, but I just couldn't do it anymore. But that was that feeling of like, okay, I know you are the reason that I don't drink anymore. You are the reason why I'm going to go home. I'm going to pop a club soda. I'm going to eat some ice cream, and I'm going to watch some Netflix, and I'm going to be fine. And I'm just going to kind of, and I was like, white knuckling it there for a couple of months before I reached out to somebody, and before I went to a meeting, and before I got a sponsor and all that kind of stuff. But it was super intense at the beginning, and I felt very raw about it. And people would want to go like, hey, let's go get a bite to eat. And people were all about like, we used to sit at the bar all the time because that's where we hung out. And what happens when you sit at the bar and the bartender? They want to slide you a drink.
Yeah.
And what happens when they slide you a drink? And I don't know if I've ever talked about this with you or with anybody, but that happened one of the very first times, like a few weeks in. And I went to the bar, the place I used to work at, and the bartender slid this drink to it was fucking some sort of strawberry basil bullshit,
Yeah.
It's like, try this. And so my intention is to be sober, and my intention is I have like maybe 2 months, and it slides over. I didn't even think about it. It was literally my hand went in, took the straw out, like put the finger on the straw and took a taste of it.
Boom.
And I was like, holy shit, I don't drink. What the fuck am I doing? And so immediately the guilt and the shame and all the bad feelings, like they just sort of blossomed in me immediately. It was more like a burst, and I got all flushed, and I was like, oh my God, can I even drive home? Because I felt kind of fucked up and weird. I felt like,
Right.
I don't know if it's possible. I know it's not possible to get drunk off of like one straw taste of a mixed strawberry whiskey drink, but I felt like it. I freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
I sat there the rest of the lunch. I didn't say anything. I felt all red and flushed, and I drove home, and I was like, I gotta go, man. I just gotta go. I gotta go. And I couldn't sleep that night. It was awful. It was fucking awful because I felt like I had betrayed whatever it is I was trying to do, and in my own mind, again, this is before I reached out to anybody, really.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely obsessive, just in those kinds of things where I have no control over it. I didn't have any control, so I had to stay away. And that's I think that might be one of the reasons why I just stayed away from people and places that served alcohol early on.
Yeah. I mean, that just goes to show how we all come from the same place, yet we take different paths, And I think with this podcast, and even with this subject in general, I guess what I'd like to convey to whoever's listening to this is that obsession that you're feeling or have felt, or maybe you're in the middle of, I know it intimately. Like I've been there in bed with it, and John knows it too. He's been there in bed with it. And even though John and I started at the same exact place, our paths went in two complete directions as far as our recovery is concerned. At this point, I think we're a little more in sync with our recoveries. At least we're a lot more in touch with each other.
Yes.
But, like I remember a speaker listening to an AA speaker meeting or a 12-step speaker meeting. Well, just an AA speaker meeting on a podcast. And the guy was saying that he would like count the seconds, and he started like tapping on the podium and saying, "You're not drinking, you're not drinking, you're not drinking." He would keep tapping on the podium like, "You're not drinking," and it hit me like a thunderbolt, man, like a lightning bolt. I was like, that was me. Like the minute I woke up and opened my eyes in the beginning, it was like, "You're not drinking." I would check my app on my phone every fucking hour. All right, it's been this many hours since you've had a drink. Like I would even look at the, it would tell you the days, the months, the weeks, and the hours. And I'm just sitting here going, man, it's been like 500, 600, 700, 1,000 hours since you've had a drink. Like you can go one more hour. That early part is a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I would never want to do it again. I gotta say it, even here and put it out on the internet. It'll be there forever. And you know, as if I hopefully I'll be sober tomorrow, but I would never want to do that again. I would never want to do that again, man. Yeah.
It was a very raw, just raw feeling. That's all I can explain it.
Yeah, it's raw. Exactly. It's tough business. My hat's off to anyone who's going through that right now, because you're a tough as fucking nails for going through that. That's tough shit, man. Yeah.
And
I'll even give you a hat. You want a hat? I got some cool ones. Got an Arizona
we should make
Diamondbacks
some
one.
hats. Make some beanies for the winter.
Just as tough as nails on it, because that is just some gangster shit to go through that early process, you know?
It really, really is, man. And it really is. And I could have given up at that moment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You had a strawberry whiskey drink right there, bro, man. You were in the den of iniquity, dude, you know, like.
Oh, man. And I wanted to ask you, too, about that. So there's that obsession that we always think about it. And then, you know, it can branch out into other things, whether it be like shopping or food or any number of things. I know a lot of people, you know, it's all about like replacing that habit with something else, hopefully something healthy. But like we talked about it a while back about my ice cream addiction, which I still struggle with.
That was tough as nuts, I bet, in the beginning too. Macadamia nuts.
Dude, macadamia nuts. But I mean, whether it be shopping or other things like, I don't want to say gambling because that's a whole nother
maybe not gambling.
But it's all those things that you're like, well, fuck it, I need something, man. I'm just gonna eat cookies. And it's like, I think in early recovery, whatever it takes to not drink. I say eat a bag of cookies, man. I say sit down with a pound cake. Take it to bed with you.
Just don't make that like your daily shit, you know?
No.
But I would do it. I justified all the time, man. Me and ice cream and cookies. I never liked sweets until I got sober. I wanted salted peanuts and chips and shit. And then I got sober and it was like, a bag of cookies. And then I'd be like, well, I'm not going to get a DUI for eating cookies. You know, I'm not going to like leave my wife for cookies, you know, or scream at my child because I ate too many cookies. But, you know, like these cookies are delicious, you fucking, you know, like, but I mean, if that's the device you have to use, if that works, go for it. I remember someone, and I probably mentioned in a previous podcast, someone told me get a bag of hard Jolly Ranchers that'll get you through. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. I can't get Jolly Rancher drunk. But then I realized like my endocrine system wanted sugar hella bad. So I ate the sugar and it made me feel better. You know?
And, you know, I still, replacing those habits and finding something like, so the next step is, okay, I'm sober, I'm obsessed, I can't stop fucking thinking about it. What do I do? How do I get through this? I think, you know, for me, the first thing was, and it's cliched, but it's cliched for a reason because it works, is that one day at a time. Okay, you don't need to think about forever. Stop thinking about forever. Put it out of your mind.
Right.
And that's what I had to do. And then you start to think, like I would say, well, what else is there? What else can I do? What else do I like to do? You know, I recently started walking because I had to, you know, walk some of that ice cream weight off. And so I'll go out. I go out every single day. I go out 7 days a week. And I know that sounds like a lot. Sometimes it's just a mile or two. Sometimes it's like 5 miles. And I don't push it. If you like to read, I know that for the longest time, I didn't read while I was drinking. I gave up on it. I literally gave up on it. I just didn't care. I think later I found out too I needed glasses and that helped. But it's finding something. Somebody once said that recovery, and if you look at the word recovery, it's about recovering the person you used to be. And so finding those things that you used to like, those, whether it be a creative endeavor, I certainly have gotten way more creative than I ever was.
There's a lot more follow through, definitely.
More follow through.
Yeah.
I do all kinds of art projects and video projects and read a bunch. I take it those little tiny steps, you know. I definitely make sure whenever it is that I feel obsessed, or I think about drinking, or I live with people, and there's booze in the closet right now. I think there's some like Bushmills or some Midori or something. I don't know. But whenever I think about it, I kind of just go, okay, well, that just means something else is up, right? If that obsession, if it goes somewhere, that just means I need to go like, well, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's the thing going on that's making you turn to that solution that doesn't work? Yeah.
So figure. I just try to figure that out, and go back to H is for halt. Are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Are you tired?
Bam.
And it often branches from one of those four. So, I'm still obsessed.
Absolutely. I'd also like to add too, one of the really valuable things to me was to be able to reach out to another person who was going through what I was going through. I know that the 12-step program we're in, they're all about like reaching out to another drunk, but I'm even saying you don't have to necessarily use this program where we use, but just it's really valuable to be able to find another person who's going through what you're going through, because they can relate, even if they're in a later recovery, they can absolutely relate. Hell, hit us up, send us an email, see what we can do.
Go to the website. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. The Stop Drinking Reddit is really great. Everybody there is super supportive.
Yeah, our / stop drinking, or just Reddit stop drinking.
I had to finally go and it took me a long time too, because I went from drinking to sober, and then overeating, and then I was bored. I was just always bored, man. I was always fucking bored, and I thought, well, what the fuck am I going to do if I don't figure out something? I'm gonna drink again, and I didn't. It just took some time. So I think another thing is to just take it easy and not
take it right. So we're going to do the one day at a time. Take it easy. Easy does it.
Right. These things, these platitudes are platitudes for a reason.
That's what I was going to say. They're cliches and platitudes for a reason. That one day at a time thing was very valuable as well, because you can always trick yourself into thinking this isn't permanent. It's just for today. Tomorrow I get to tear it up. And then tomorrow when you wake up, go, you know what? It's a great day. Maybe tomorrow I'll go and tear it up. And then just keep doing that over and over again until you die or don't die. I don't know.
Did I mention this to you before?
A little negative, but
no, not at all. Not even tear it up. You just
keep doing it till you die.
Yeah, the option's open. Yeah, you just keep doing it till you die. You keep doing it.
And then you get to die being the person you were meant to be, the person you wanted to be. That's who you gotta be. It's the person you want to be.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to A is for Alcoholic. Our music is by Neglect. You can find more of his music at neglectsound.bandcamp.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and contact us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.